Hello there, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. It's me, Countess. I'm back to read another piece of Billy's poetry from the Talent Contest chapter in the memoirs Billy shares by Mr. Tom Harriet. I came across this poem, guys, and I just wanted to read it. I want you to think about who it could be about. I think once we get into it a little bit, you guys will understand. And as always, at the end, we'll kind of chit chat about it. Because it's kind of I don't know, it's a different sort of piece of poetry, I guess, that Bill put into this book. This poem is called If It Wasn't So Delicious. If it wasn't so delicious way back then, well then, I wouldn't want you now. And then, if then it wasn't so delicious way back then, I wouldn't want you now. And now, I wouldn't know just how, no, I wouldn't know just how well that you haven't been since then. No, I would not know just how well that you have not been since then. Another evening without food, you were busy and I was rude. Our home's a total wreck, and so are you. You keep crying that we're through. I say we're not, but hope it's not true. My life's a total wreck, and so are you. And still the phone keeps ringing. All the bills are due. The creditors complaining, and so are you. And still the phone is ringing. The rent is overdue. Your mother is complaining. She sounds a lot like you. You shop until the day is spent while I'm here working hard. You're buying gifts for everyone using my credit card. You grin and give a present to me, just like every time. You think that it endears you to me, but you don't give a dime. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. We've hardly fought today, except when we're speaking. There's not much left to say. I'm hungry and I'm tired. I need somebody who can relax and listen to me. I need loving too. If it wasn't so delicious way back then, well then, I wouldn't want you now. And then, if then it wasn't so delicious way back then, I wouldn't want you now. And now, I wouldn't know just how. No, I wouldn't know just how well that you haven't been since then. No, I would not know just how well that you have not been since then. I lie in bed alone at night, wishing my love could make it right. I wouldn't be all by myself, maybe if you were someone else. Our hearts can mend. I must pretend our hearts can mend. Each time is just another day of hurting in that same old way. I tell myself this pain won't last. How many years more till it's past? Our hearts can mend. It cannot end. Our hearts can mend. Is it my fault we fell apart? Should I have stopped it when I knew it hurt me more by loving you? At times I find myself relieved by reasons offered to believe your welcomed kiss, a loving hug, new hopes, the worst of any drug. Oof, I am all alone again. The love that triumphs over doubt. Our hearts can mend, I must pretend. Our hearts can mend. If it wasn't so delicious way back then, well then, I wouldn't want you now. And then, if it wasn't so delicious way back then, I wouldn't want you now. And now, I wouldn't know just how. No, I wouldn't know just how well that you haven't been since then. No, I would not know just how well you have not been since then. Because I've left 1,000 times, in my heart and mind, I'm as close to isolation as I've ever been to you. Still, it isn't right to leave alone our children in my broken home, just to drop my isolation down on them, to pass this pain I'm feeling on to them. And so we wait through the endless nights, hoping that it will lead to the light, but fearing what we plant is all we'll eat, and knowing seeds of pain won't bring us peace. I'm busy doing nothing. There's nothing left to do, because I've left 1,000 times. In my heart and in my mind, I'm as close to isolation as I'll ever be to you. Wow. Wow. Can you guess who that one was about, guys? Can you? Miss Heather Mills, the one and only, right? Yes. And, we're familiar with Miss Mills and her ways, right? Over a year ago, I did a tarot reading. I did a couple tarot readings, actually, about her and him, and then their relationship. No bueno, it was all a facade with her. She seemed to exhibit what I determine as like narcissistic personality disorder, right? And I've had this myself in past relationships, where you meet somebody and they just seem to be like your savior, kind of like they're like your soulmate, your twin flame, if you will, and they like everything that you like. They encourage you, they support everything. They're like, there's passion, there's just fiery romance, and it's just addicting. There's sex involved in it. And it becomes, just like he said, that hope becomes the worst kind of drug. New hope, false hope. Because, after that sort of honeymoon period in a relationship, if the relationship isn't built on a sort of foundation of friendship and trust and respect, out of all other things, respect is number one, right? If something isn't built on that kind of foundation, it's going to crumble, right? Like when you get sucked in by somebody's sexual prowess, their magnetism and their sexual chemistry is just like a drug, and it's really crazy how that can mess with your brain, and I personally have been there. I understand what Billy is saying in this poem totally, and just saying like, I'm as close to isolation as I've ever been to you. Like, that's just, wow. That just speaks volumes. And this is when he was still with her, I'm assuming, because it sounds like he's still sort of pretending and still sort of trying to be in this relationship with somebody who just is all about the money, all about the fame, all about the glitz and glamour of being Mrs. Heather Mills McCartney, and having that last name attached to her. Of course, she had to hyphen it, right? She just, and these are all my own thoughts and opinions, and from like what I've gauged from what I have learned from different sources, documentaries, even my tarot readings. She isn't the greatest person. And she is a narcissist, straight up textbook. And I think Billy would agree. That's kind of like what he's talking about here. It's like hollow, if it wasn't so delicious way back then, if it wasn't so like fiery and passionate and like, oh my God, you're my soulmate, let's just be together all the time. And then that eventually just kind of like wears off. And then you start to become devalued by that individual and start to become sort of like a punching bag for that person, and that is what this poem is saying to me personally. And I don't know, I've done a lot of healing and learning and growing since my entanglement with a couple of people with this personality disorder in my life. Never again. That's all I have to say. The red flags. Again, this goes back into trusting your intuition, right? Just like Billy, it's like me. If I would have trusted my intuition and paid attention to things that weren't quite right, things that were red flags, behaviors, repeated patterns of behavior. That is the key to this disorder. If somebody fucks up once and does something, but then, doesn't do it again and, shows by their actions that, they're sorry that they messed up and that they're going to do better. Great. That's fine. But somebody who continuously fucks up just because, just and brushes it off, like, why are you getting so mad? Why are you bringing up the past? Why are you doing this to me? I'm the victim, people like that can just be very frustrating to deal with. That's all I'm saying. And I know that from personal experience. That's all I'm going to say about that. But it's actually something that now, looking back, I'm very grateful to have gone through, because you can kind of determine an individual. And I'm just saying, like, to trust your gut feelings about things, guys. Like, don't ignore that feeling, because you'll end up in a situation with somebody who does not respect you, who does not love you, who does not truly value your presence in their life. You're just there to entertain them whenever they want, basically. You're not really a human to them. You're an object. I mean, simple and plain. So yeah, I will get off of this subject, and I just wanted to kind of put in my 2 bits. That's what I think about with this, because going back to that, the very first video I made in this series, when I was talking and kind of like introducing what I'm going to be doing in this series, like reading the poems and whatnot, I read the poem on the website called To the Hills of Heather Mills. And that poem right there was like written in the honeymoon period. You could tell, like, oh my gosh, everything was beautiful. He wrote a poem in an ode to her breasts, the hills of Heather Mills. So it's like things were good, things were popping at that time. And that's something that he needed to sort of lift his spirit and from, losing Linda, but it didn't replace the substance that Linda gave him inside. This was all a facade on the outside. This was all about gaining power and fortune and fame on the other person's side. And that's what this poem tells me, is that he just became miserable, and, you know, if it wasn't for all the great, passionate whatever back then, he wouldn't want her now because he sees her for who she is now. And it's just like you're actually hoping that something will happen to sort of be the catalyst to break ties with this person, because you realize just how toxic they are. Yeah. Just something to think about. Never, ever ignore your intuitive reaction to what people are putting out to you. That is the lesson of the day, guys. Yes. So let me know what you guys think about this poem. What do you think about the relationship between Miss Mills and Mr. McCartney? And they have a child together. So I just wonder how that dynamic is. I'm sure that adds a whole other layer of complexity to the situation when there is a child involved. But we won't go down that alley now. But let me know what you guys think about this poem. It's just kind of nice to sit back and read one. I haven't done it in a while, so I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. As always, guys, take care of yourselves. Bye.
But though they may be parted, there is still a chance, Bill, that they will see